Hey guys, my name is Chantel. Welcome back to my channel and thanks for hanging out with me today. So today we are going to talk about episode 12 of Idolish7 Second Beat. There is always just so much going on within one episode that I am just really curious how this season is going to wrap up because there's just so much still, so many questions left unanswered, so many things I keep thinking about. Like as every episode goes on, the more I start to think about okay, what's going on here? Just more... It's a lot to take in every week, is what I'm trying to say, I guess. Anyway, let's just start off from the beginning with Nagi's press conference. So Nagi is basically the PR manager thing, whatever you want to call it. And he's basically in charge of the whole press conference. And the reporters, they weren't too happy to see Nagi being the one in charge of the press conference and just taking over. They were really shocked, and at one point one of them starts asking Nagi is this a joke to you? And of course Nagi just shuts him down really good, and he knows what he's doing. I was worried for nothing. Well, I was a little bit worried because at the end of the press conference, something does happen. But yeah, besides that, the conference went really smoothly and Nagi handled that so gracefully. He was able to stay calm, even though, just like Tamaki said, his eyes looked really angry. And I love that when Tamaki is saying that, you can see he is angry. You can see it in his eyes, even though he has this calm, cool persona right now. His eyes are saying a whole different thing, which is understandable because he does treasure Haruki and he's not okay with the things that are being said and the rumors that are being spread. So he basically, what he did in the press conference was let everyone know what's really happening, what's going on, and know the whole situation with Haruki and the songs. And at the end, they had a Q&A, which by the end of it, Nagi was able to win over the reporters and everyone was having a good time at the end until you see a bottle of spray paint being thrown at Sumugi. And that instant, both Sumugi's dad and Nagi protect her. Then Nagi was like, hey, go catch that guy, which the security guys were like, what? Guards? Because Nagi says, guards sees him and they just look at him like, huh? You're talking to us? And I'm just like, you idiots, go after the dude. And I guess before we really do dive into that, last thing I do want to mention is the rest of the members of Idolish7 are there at the press conference. They're hiding behind a wall so they can't basically they're seeing everything happen behind the reporters, but no one knows that they're there. And they're really impressed by Nagi, and even Iori starts questioning where did he learn this? He's handling this way better than I guess what they expected it, obviously. And even Sumugi and her dad were very much surprised. It's crazy to see Nagi this way, and I love serious Nagi. It's great. He took charge and he knew what he was doing to the bitter end, and he tried to save everybody and help in any way that he could. But again, because of the person that threw the spray paint at Sumugi, he rushes off to the middle of the street where it's crowded, where everyone seems to be gathering, and he starts playing I guess one of Zero songs and one of Idolish7 songs, and he basically says, give me my song back. And as we're looking at this person, he's dressed up as Zero, as we the audience know, based on the crowd. They're like, oh my gosh, that's Zero, it's really Zero, which I'm like, I don't think that's Zero, because every time we got a close-up, even though you can't see the face because he has a mask on and he has a hood over his head, can't really see what he really looks like. But I think the sunken cheeks gave it away, because as soon as I saw those cheeks, I was like, that looks like Kujo to me. I feel like I'm never right with my predictions, but the fact that it's with this episode, seeing whoever showed up to impersonate Zero looked a lot like Kujo, especially the voice. Even though he tried really hard to cover it up, it sounded like Kujo. So I'm like, oh my god, it's Kujo, isn't it? It really is, isn't it? But at this point, I feel like there's just a 1% chance it could probably not be Kujo, but I don't know. Kujo, I feel like he's a smart man. He knows what he's doing. So I feel like at the same time, it would be kind of stupid if he did do this, just because if he does get caught, he is going to be in a lot of trouble. So I don't know. Like, there's a part of me, like that 1% that's like, maybe it's not. But at the same time, I'm like, no, it's Kojo. It's gotta be. Because like I said in my last video, he's trying really hard to make 10 shine. And on top of that, he was really interested in being at the Zero Arena concert for everybody. And on top of that, he's putting all his dreams on 10. So that's, again, the reason why I believe Kojo is behind all of this. Whether or not he's the one impersonating Zero or not, or he hired someone else to do it, we'll find out, I guess, eventually in a couple of episodes. And it's kind of crazy if this is Kojo to see like how far he's willing to go to destroy these other two groups, Rivale and Idolish7, just so 10 can shine the brightest and the attention is all on 10. Also, I am surprised that the crowd like was like, oh my gosh, it's Zero, blah blah blah, and I'm like, this dude did not even sing. How do you know it's Zero? It's kind of like, people, use your brains. The dude's not singing, he's just playing a song. He's not doing anything. Like, how can you believe this is Zero? Like, oh my gosh. But again, I guess this is an anime, so whatever. Whatever goes. Anyway, I just thought that was kind of funny how the crowd did not question it at all, just because he looked like Zero. And after that, I was like, well, crap. Everything that Nagi just did to save Idolish7 probably just went down in flames thanks to this impersonator of Zero. And then we skip over to the scene where we see Rivale, and it seems like the ticket prices are being sold way higher because of all the stuff that's surrounding Zero, all these rumors, that weird appearance that he made the imposter. Again, there's so much attention on Zero that there's no attention anymore on Rivale or Idolish7. Like, people just care about Zero now, which is unfortunate. And I do love that Rivale's manager does say, like, this is supposed to be Rivale's 5th anniversary concert. Why is everyone talking about Zero? Like, this should not be happening. This isn't about Zero, really. Like, this is about, like, everybody as a group to celebrate all of this and so much more. Like, to celebrate Zero, Rivale's 5th anniversary, and all these three groups coming together. So it's a big old mess. And Momo doesn't seem to be okay yet. He's still trying to play it off, and he notices that there's a letter in his snacks, and he's like, hey, what's this? So before Momo is able to read it, his manager is like, let me read that first, because right now you're not in the greatest state, and I'm afraid that whatever is in here, it will probably trigger something even worse. So he reads it, and we see that it is a threat, which at that point I'm like, oh no. Like, this letter that says, you know, if you sing the song, things are gonna be really, really bad at the Zero Arena. There's gonna be tragedy. And I'm just like, oh my god, please no. Please no. I don't think my heart can handle anything bad happening at the Zero Arena while the boys are performing. Like, no, please no. No. If anyone touches a hair on my boys, I will throw hands. I will tell you that right now. So Momo and Yuki and the rest of Idolish7 as well as Trigger better be okay by the end of this, or else I'm gonna throw hands. Anyways, so after that, we move into this scene where the members of Idolish7 are talking together, and they're talking about that threat, and they're really worried, and Mitsuki is super convinced that no, it's not Zero, and that's when Riko starts to ask, like, hey, I heard you say that last time we were out on the street. What did you mean by that? And Mitsuki kind of explains that it's more like a feeling. It's more of a gut intuition. He's trusting his gut, and he's like, I don't know, it's just that it's really hard to explain, but when I saw Zero, it was like a spell was casted on me. And basically he's saying this time it felt different. It wasn't like that at all. That's why he believes that it's not Zero, which I think it was Yamato, I can't remember who said it, but one of the members said it, that how can you be sure if it's just your intuition? But I love that Nagi is like, sometimes your intuition's right, so you kind of have to go for it. At times, you gotta trust your instincts. And, you know, I love that Nagi says this, because yeah, sometimes our intuition could be wrong, but most of the time I feel like our intuitions are correct, which is why you should always trust your gut no matter what. If your gut's telling you one thing, like you should do this or you shouldn't, do the right thing. Like, listen to it, because most of the time your gut is right. Anyway, point being is, I feel like we all have real life experiences where there's a moment in our life or several moments in our life where your gut is telling you something, like you have a strong gut feeling that you have to go and trust it. Which, speaking of, we move on to our next group because I think it was Iori that turns on the TV and we see that the news is covering Zero and everything that happened. And when he changes the channel, it is all eyes on Trigger. And the reporters are asking Trigger so many questions. Basically, they're asking for their opinion on Rivale and Idolish7, being like, what do you think about all this? Do you think they're harming Zero's fans and they shouldn't be covering their songs? And basically, like, you start to hear like the opinion of the reporters, but I guess most of like the opinion online and stuff that we're seeing regarding Zero and whether or not Rivale should be covering his songs, whether or not Idolish7 should be taking Haruki's songs even though they were given to Nagi. That's when Gaku, I was surprised that he went off. I was like, yes, go for it, Gaku. I am with you all the way 100%. Like, he was just spitting out facts, spitting out truth, man. Like, if I didn't already love Gaku, this already like sold me even more. Like, I just love this man so much. He does not care about his image at the end of the day as long as he speaks his truth. Like, he is not gonna go down without a fight, regardless of what other people are gonna think at the end of the day, which is also kind of dangerous because you also do see, you know, Ryu and I think Ten, I believe, I can't really remember it, but they were trying to be like, oh, Gaku, maybe you shouldn't like say that or calm down a little bit. And Gaku's like, no. So kudos to Gaku, man. He's the real MVP. Because these reporters were really being nasty, like saying like all these nasty questions. And I'm just like, why would you ask that to these people that love and respect Zero and have been inspired by Zero? Like, they don't mean any harm. Like, they just want to keep his legacy alive. It's kind of like, maybe I'm just thinking about this because I watched the Selena series, but it's kind of like that, where people are covering Selena songs nowadays and stuff like that. It's kind of like that. Like, there's no harm in covering a Selena song or singing it, you know? Like, I don't know. Like, it's just kind of ridiculous how vicious these reporters are and how, like, they just turned around and they were like, oh, you shouldn't be doing this. Like, this is so toxic, man. And it's just very much crazy to me to see. But at the same time, I'm like, I could see this happening in real life. Besides Gaku letting out what he wanted to say, Ten also says a few things, which really caught me by surprise that Ten spoke up about all this. Like, I was like, oh, okay. When I saw this happening, I was like, take that, Kujo, if it's really you. Because I don't know if Kujo probably planned this or not, because at first I was like, bet Kujo didn't see this coming, but then I was like, wait a minute. This is where another light bulb started going off on me, and I was like, oh my god, what if Kujo planned this all along to just make Idolish7 and Rivale's image, like, just dirty it all up, so Ten could get this moment. So people could be on Ten's side and be like, oh, you know, he's right. Everything he's saying makes sense. Maybe we shouldn't be hard on Idolish7 and Rivale. So when I started thinking that way, I was like, this son of a bee. Because that would be super clever if this was a part of his plan. Because now, like, all eyes are on Ten. They're gonna keep what Ten is saying to heart. And that would be fantastic if he really thought about it like this. But again, I don't know. Who knows? I will find out eventually if this was like part of his plan or not, you know? But I couldn't help thinking that way when I was watching Ten talk throughout this whole thing. Because the reporters were getting really mad because it sounded like Ten was saying, you know, I'm going to be better than Zero. And the reporters were like, why are you saying that? You should not say that. But again, Trigger really shut them up so quick, and I was just left speechless. I felt like that Pikachu me when I was hearing Gaku and Ten talk the whole time. I was like, oh my god. But at the same time, I was like, this could go either way, where it could backfire on them, or they could also go down with Idolish7 and Rivale. And once they basically say their piece and they're done talking with the reporters, they're like, okay, this is a perfect opportunity to let you guys in our new song. We were planning on, you know, showing it to the world in a few days, but, you know, let's do this a cappella right here, right now. And they sing Last Dimension, which was beautiful. Oh my god, the visuals and just the way that it sounds a cappella was just so fantastic. Like, it is great. I hope that is up on Spotify and Apple Music soon, because I will be listening to that on repeat. It was so beautifully done. Like, it sounded so great. And then the visuals, oh my god, the visuals that they put in here, fantastic. And there was like this certain visual where people were talking about because it's hard to see because you see like the credits are rolling, but there's this certain visual that I've been seeing going around Twitter where they're like, oh my gosh, when they focus on 10, you see Gaku and Ryu's shadow on his face, and I'm like, holy crap, like that is such a fantastic visual, like right there, like that is freaking amazing. Like I'm telling you, Idolish7, man, they are just going at it with the visuals. Moving on to the next thing that I want to talk about is pretty much like the aftermath after that. Things seem to calm down finally with the media thanks to Trigger. And so like now the media has changed its tune and now they're all for it. They're like, oh yeah, okay, do what you guys gotta do. And we also do have this moment with the managers, because we have this moment where Gaku's dad was like, okay, basically handing the job to Trigger's manager, being like, okay, we gotta take advantage of this because we don't want Trigger to be taken down with the other two. So let's clean up this mess before it gets messy or before it gets out of hand. So they were really well prepared. And of course, as they're trying to do what they need to do, Somugi comes in with like a list of people who support Zero and the other groups, Rivale, Idolish7, and Trigger. She hands it over to Trigger's manager, which I'm really sorry, her name never sticks to me. I'll get it eventually. And then you also have Rivale's manager coming in too and being like, I'm here to help too, which was really, really sweet. And I love seeing the managers get together to help the groups. And again, like I said, the media changes its tune. Everything seems peachy and fine. But then you have at the end of the credits where everyone is now back to worrying about Momo and his voice. And you have the scene between Yuki and Yamato, and he has a moment to talk with Yuki, and he basically tells him like, okay, I accepted the movie job. And Yuki's like, yeah, I know, and this person would be very delighted that his dear son is gonna be making his debut film after all. And I'm like, what? And then you have a magazine of someone that's older that looks a lot like Yamato, and I'm like, holy moly, what are we diving into next? And then you have the preview for next week's episode where it seems like Tamaki snaps and he's angry, and then you see Sogo's little head, and I'm like, oh no, 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 no. We're gonna dive into that next week, aren't we? He finds out about Aya. I'm gonna assume that's what's gonna happen next, and I'm not ready to see that mess happen. Oh my gosh, I am not prepared. Anyways, guys, that is all of my thoughts for this week's episode of Idolish7. Thank you guys once again for hearing me ramble, as always, and I will see you guys in my next video. Stay safe and healthy, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!